Hi, I'm Helen Masters, the winemaker here at Atarangi, and it's my pleasure to show you these new releases from the really phenomenal 2020 vintage. So our release from 2020 is 4 different Pinot Noirs. Our flagship 2020 Atarangi, which is all our older vines, so vines from the age of sort of 43 to about 35 years. And then for the first time, we've got 2 new single vineyard releases. The Kotinga vineyard, which is further down the road here from Atarangi, the Masters vineyard, and one that you might be more familiar with, the Macron, which we've had released for about 10 years. The reason we decided to release these wines this year is that 2020 was a phenomenal harvest. It was very what we would call average, but average in the way where everything is right. Not too much heat, not too much rainfall, not too much yield. And it was a real pleasure to grow that fruit throughout the year. And then a very, very long, sort of just cool autumn, which allowed us to slowly bring the fruit in a really kind of calm and ordered manner. So it was a real pleasure to work with 2020 vintage, and I think you see it in these wines. They have a calmness about them. They have a really lovely flow. They're opening and welcoming, but there's real depth and line and length to them. So the 3 single vineyards, Kotinga, Masters and Macron, were planted all in similar years. So these are all about 20, 21 years old, these sites. The Kotinga is further down the road, about 400 metres from our Atarangi home block. And here it sits right on the edge of the terrace, so it's our most free draining site. So very, very gravelly soil, and it has its own personality because of that. It keeps it very chalky, crunchy, long, tight and bright. It's all Dijon clone too, so it's quite unique for us to have one site just made up purely of Dijon. Most of our sites would have a core of what we call the Abel clone, which is a clone that's quite unique to Martinborough. The Masters and the Macron have a similarity in that they have clay with the gravels. The Masters is 4 kilometres south of the Martinborough township, so a little bit cooler, a little bit more exposed to the southerly cool winds. And here the clay is really mingled in with gravels that go down about 30 metres. The Macron site's right here in town. It's only a hop and a skip and a jump from the actual Atarangi winery. And here the clay is quite bold, and it really brings a lot of the kind of bigger personality that the Macron has. It can be kind of quite bold and really appealing in that type of way. So the Atarangi then is all our sites, our older planted sites around the winery. So all very similar in soil structure. This is classic free draining soils here. And the really big kind of thing about the Atarangi is this is our older vine parcels. So some that were planted 43 years ago, most of it planted now about 30 years ago. So let's taste through the wines so you get to really kind of discover the personalities and the things that make these sites really unique. So this first release of the Kotinga, I'm really excited to show everybody. This is a site where we've just got Dijon planted here. As I said before, it's very, very free draining, and that combination of the bright Dijon clones that tend to be more red fruited, pretty, perfumed, combined with a very free draining site gives this wine that's got amazing energy. It's got a gorgeous, bright, crushed fruit kind of perfume, and then this kind of just a burst of energy that goes right through the wine. And I think it really classically shows Dijon on a very, very gravelly site here in Martinborough. Well, Masters, as you might have figured out, this is named after my vineyard that myself and my husband and my 2 children farm. And this is 4K south of the township. And here we have Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. And this site, planted 20 years ago, it's really starting to show a different voice from in town here. So we really made the decision that 2020 was a great release to show what this cooler site with clay brings. And here I think the really striking thing is the difference in aromatics. Instead of being more savoury or red fruited like in town, there's a more orange, there's a really different note to the perfume. And also the feel on the palate, it has a different kind of way the tannins kind of flow. It's kind of a calm flow that sits throughout the palate. And for me, it was purely about expressing this site. So here, very simple winemaking. This is actually one thing about this site. It's our site that can really absorb the most whole bunch. So in this wine, it is 70% whole bunch, but I think even the people who count themselves as being able to pick whole bunch won't sense that. It really just becomes part of the wine and really suits what we have out there. So, you know, I'm especially proud of this one, obviously, because there's been a lot of hard work into it, but it really does show a different voice again, and that's really the whole purpose of bottling it as a single vineyard. So as explained, the nose is quite different here. A lot more orange, sort of cinnamon, nutmeg, almost hints of Negroni and things. It is quite exotic versus the kind of traditional aromatics of sweet hay that you might have kind of come to know, or red licorice from Martinborough. And then Macron, really love this site here. It's such a bold and audacious wine, and it really has its own personality. It has had for a long time. I think 20 is a real stonker from here. It's got that power and that kind of punch we expect from Macron, but just in a really kind of together way, which I think is showing really well. So it's a little bit more darker fruited, classic kind of spice, but also it has a little bit of a ferrous kind of blood element, which I think really, really shouts from this site. Oh, and it's a very confident wine, the Macron, and it really is such a satisfying wine to takes you on a journey. It knows who it is. So I'm really proud to see at the site, Macron really showing its personality year after year. All right, our 2020. This is a gem. Love this wine. So a classical blend of, it's about 40% whole bunch, but make up of all the similar vineyards we've been using for the last 10 years. And this wine has just an amazing balance of aroma, perfume, structure, power, and length. So to me, really, really lovely classic Artarangi that is just so complete